Hey guys, my name's Josh Sanders and here today we're at a local day ticket venue having a day session in the brisk peak of winter, and we're going to discuss all things Northern Specials. Now there's a reason they've been around since 2008 and still going strong to date, and today I'm going to discuss with you why that is. We're going to look at the range, we're going to look at the different colours, the variance in size, and just why they are so impactful in today's carp angling world. So we're here today for a day session, and I'm not going to lie, it's absolutely freezing. When I drove into the fishery this morning, all the puddles were iced over, there was ice on the swims, it's going to be tough. Now, as we all know, winter fishing can be an absolute grueling task, especially with the metabolism of carp reducing. They don't want to eat very much, with the weather being awful and wet and cold, and also the reduced light hours. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I've picked my swim today based upon a couple of things: where the wind direction's going. It's a very cold northerly wind at the moment, and also the amount of sunlight. So I've chosen 3 spots, and the first one is the reed line, as you can see in the background. Now, reed lines for carp, especially this time of year, are absolute magnets. Any last little bit of natural food, but also the heat and the warmth from the sun onto the reeds makes it really appealing for the carp. And essentially what I want to try and achieve is I want to have a bright visual hook bait, minimal feed, but maximum attraction to home those carp in that aren't particularly in the feeding frenzy mood at the moment due to the time of year. I want them to be able to home in on something bright, quick, and get that bite. Now the rods are out, it gives me a little bit of time to talk about the Northern Special range. And within that range, there's various sizes of pop-ups, there's dedicated wafters, and they all come in those classic 5 different colours. You've got your typical whites, yellows, pinks, but also my favourites, you've got the orange and reds. But not just on the pop-ups and the wafters, you've got dedicated liquids, you've also got booster liquids in the form of the halos, you've got the traditional yellows, but you've also got the soon to be released pink halo. And we've also got a brand new product which I'm excited to talk to you about at the end of this feature. So we're going to start off with the pop-ups, which are high vis, super buoyant, and are absolutely jam-packed with that citrus smell that the Northern Specials are famous for. Firstly, we're going to go over the most common sizes in the Northern Special range, which is both the 12mm and the 14mm. Now, the 12mm are perfectly suited for your kind of bit fishing, your particle fishing, because it's just that right size to kind of blend in with the various amounts of size that you do have in the mix, whether it's hemp, pellet, or even larger food items like maize or even tiger nuts. They perfectly complement that style of fishing. But for me personally, I like to use the 14mm, whether I'm using a hinge rig or a chod rig, or even down to a kind of like German snowman rig. My preference is utilising the 14mm just because they're that little bit larger and have that little bit larger food item for the carp. And also to complement the 14mm range, we do the Northern Special Plus, again in 14mm. Now the reason for the Plus is that they've had an extended drying period to make them super buoyant. And they're perfectly suited for those kind of anglers that use big hooks on hinges or big hooks on chods, and they need to leave a hook bait out longer than 24 hours. And lastly, within the range of the Northern Specials, we do an 18mm. Now, the 18mm has been specifically designed for the continental angler, but it's also prevalent within the UK, whether you're trying to provide an alternative hook bait to stop catching the roach or the bream, or whether you've got nuisance on crayfish. Or personally, I just want to wang one of these out as a single just because they're absolutely massive and they cannot be missed by a carp. So now we're going to move over to the Northern Special Wafters, which are absolutely perfect for solid bag fishing. When you're putting into tiny little hook baits with all your pellets and into your PVO bag, once this dissolves onto the lake bed, this will slowly rise up, not lifting the hook up, but just appearing just above pellets and being the first thing that the carp see because it is super visual and super bright. Also, the NS1 dumbbells are perfectly suited for fishing on hard lake beds, whether you're fishing with particles or boilies. If you want a high visual and high attract hook bait that will stand out amongst the rest, this is the perfect option for you. So we're going to talk about just a couple of rigs that I use, and pretty much apart from zigs, these are the only 3 rigs I use. So I'm just going to go through my favourite rig of all time, which a friend of mine introduced as God's rig. He'll know exactly what he's on about. But the forever faithful hinge rig. This is pretty much my go-to no matter what time of year, no matter what kind of bottoms I'm fishing on, unless it's super, super clean or in the edge where I can actually see the bottom. This would be my go-to just because of the properties of anti-tangle, but also how much it sticks off the bottom, you know, trying to detract from any kind of detritus on the bottom or any leaves or anything like that. It's just a perfect rig for presentation and the hooking potentials with the kind of the stiff boom section here of the hook point. Moving over. Everybody knows this rig, and it's for good reason. It's a fantastic rig. It's easy to tie, it's quick to use, and it's caught so many big carp. I mean, it's countless amount of carp that have been landed by the spinner rig or the Ronnie rig. The reason why I use this, again, other than being a super quick hook changing and efficient rig, is something if I want to have something closer to the deck, whether I'm fishing still just boilies on their own or I'm fishing out in the pond and there could be little strands of weed on the area when I've been pulling back with the marker float. I want to use a Ronnie because it presents nice and cleanly, but also compared to the bottom bait, it's already kind of half cocked in terms of, you know, the striking position of what a Ronnie can do. It's already there, ready to be picked up and inhaled by a carp and then just prick the bottom lip as you'd expect. Nothing else much to say apart from awesome rig. And last but not least is my favourite bottom bait rig or wafter rig, which is called the Turbo German. And essentially this rig is designed for using on super clean bottoms, and I've been able to use it when it comes to a spreader boilie or particle fishing where the fish have been absolutely hammered on pop-ups. They've seen it throughout the whole of the spring, the summer, the autumn, and it comes to the winter time. I want something that's close to the deck but also high visual. So this will stand out quite clearly, and as I've stated before about the underwater filming, high visual hook baits get bites a lot quicker, and this rig is absolutely perfect for fishing on clean on the bottom. Nice and simple, easy, and something that can be tied within seconds. Another fantastic piece to the Northern Special range, which I feel really complements the range quite well, is the Northern Special minis. Now, these minis have been specifically designed for little sight toppers or even used in conjunction on zigs. Personally, I absolutely love them with a snowman. I've got a rig here, which is just a general snowman on a German rig, and I'm using my Forever Faithful, slightly dulled out orange on top of a Pro Stim liver. Now, for me personally, I like putting a bit of a sight bobber. We've seen so many times, countless of times on underwater videos, whether you use a high vis against kind of like not a camouflage, but more of an organic, normal looking kind of bottom bait, that carp will actively pick up the high vis bait first. And that is exactly what I've employed into my fishing. I want to be able to get a bite as quickly as I can. Now, we're in winter on my current syndicate at the moment. I like to be able to fish just a small amount of baits, and we fish with a lot of boilies. So, when I say a lot of boilies, we're using 20 baits at one time on each spot. Now, if I've got 20 baits all spattered around, I want the carp to hone into my hook bait as quickly as possible. I don't want it to take one mouthful, 2 mouthfuls and potentially spook off the baited area. I want them to go in straight away. So utilising the Northern Specials, the little minis, is exactly what I'll do to implement into my fishing to get that quicker bite. So to talk about one of my memorable captures when utilising the minis is I wanted the idea of having a slow sinking bottom bait. Now this is a bottom bait as discussed earlier with one of the buoyant minis. This enables me to fish a bottom bait but in a slight wafter formation but with a high visual aspect. Now on the syndicate when I caught single scale, there's a dying weed bed in one of the corner swims, and I wanted to present on top of that dying weed bed, but I didn't want my bottom bait kind of pulling the rig into the weed. I wanted to just sit gently on top of it. So by utilising the minis, I was able to fish with a scattering of other Pro Stim liver boilies around the area, effectively being able to land and catch that fish. Another great thing that ccmoore have done with the minis is that they've included 8 different colours. There's 150 hook baits in there, so whatever situation you're wanting to fish in, whether it be solid bags or fishing zigs with the blacks, we've got you covered with the ccmoore minis for all opportunities. So one of the penultimate products that we have in the Northern Special range is our dedicated hook bait boosters in the form of the halos. Now, the yellow halo was not too long ago released, but now soon to be released, we've now got the pink halo, which adds on extra attraction, extra flavour to your hook baits. Now, personally, for me, I like to be able to prepare my hook baits in advance, whether it be a week to even up to a month beforehand, soaking my hook baits to ensure that my pop-ups or my wafters have really kind of drawn that attraction in from the halo range into the hook baits. Also, like today in this winter, zigs are a big part of my fishing. I'll always dab a little bit on the hook bait just before casting, especially if the water's a little bit turbid or a bit coloured. You want to be able to get some smell. I mean, I'm a big fan of using foam. Now, just adding a little bit of halo before casting out just increases that subtle bit of attraction to hopefully land you that first bite. The other liquid in the range is a Northern Special bait booster. Now, I use this in the winter, especially in conjunction with the live system. When you switch over to the colder months for the autumn and winter and you start thinking about utilising that winter bait, the Northern Special is a good complementary product to put on the boilies. Either that or crumbing them up into a fine powder and using them as a stick mix with a pop-up. So today has been quite challenging. As we all know, winter fishing can be quite tough. It's either very hit or miss. And it's about time that we kind of bring the changes and start looking at utilising some upper layer tactics, as the bottom baits just simply haven't been working for us. So I'm going to put some zigs on, which is going to tie in nicely with the final product for ccmoore. So the final product we're here to talk about are the ccmoore soon to be released zig hook baits. Now, these hook baits have been specifically designed for zig fishing and come in 3 different colours: black, yellow and red, and have that NS1 signature flavour profile that we all know and love. They're super buoyant and they're soon to be released in 2025. I'm going to give them a go for the last couple of hours and see if we can bank one. So that comes to a close, unfortunately. As you can see, the light is almost gone. We've probably got about half an hour to 45 minutes left of light. And even though this is a golden time for winter fishing, it simply just hasn't paid off for us. It's been a very tough day. I'll roll out all the excuses. First time I've ever been here, very deep lake. But we've seen 2 fish all day. We've acted upon it, been blasting out zigs, been blasting out pop-ups, been blasting out wafters, little bags, solid bags, been trying everything today to get a bite, and it just hasn't paid off, and that's unfortunately just winter fishing for you. But nonetheless, I hope you've enjoyed this little piece. I've loved it, and I'll be back out with ccmoore hopefully soon.